What's up, everybody? Psych Out back here. We are starting the Easter tournament. I had to get a little late start, had some work to do earlier today, so a little late start on the Easter tournament. And it took me a little while, but we finally got a grand tournament victory. I think this will be an interesting video. I'm going to show the replays like we usually do with these. You can see it cost us 15 gems, meaning we lost in the first round. I paid the 5 gems to continue, and then went on to win 10 straight games. In this tournament, I played a deck I have literally never played before, and that is a rush deck. And so I think that'll make for a fun video because I'd never played this deck before, and I just picked it up, lost the first game, won 10 straight. I think the deck works pretty well in this tournament for a couple of reasons, but the main reason is that when your castle health is level 9, doing damage quickly to your opponent's castle, you can often finish them off pretty quickly, and there's not a lot they can do about it. In any case, let's go ahead and open our grand tournament chest. Let's see what legendary we got. All right, 2 shaman. That's pretty cool. I guess that gives me 3. I was hoping that would give me 5, but it looks like it just gives me 3. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Nothing too exciting there. Maybe the protections are cool, but nothing to get too excited about. Bombs are good, so that's nice. And of course, we got 2,000 gold, then we got our gems back, and we got a sticker. Hooray for the sticker. All right, so that's a grand tournament win. I can show you the sticker for the grand tournament. There it is there in the top right. So we'll try to for a master tournament later. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play in the tournament much. I've got a lot of work going on during the Easter break here. So okay, so let's get to the games. Well, maybe first I should show you the deck that I was playing with. Let's see. How can I do this? Well, you'll see the deck when we go to the replays. So let's do that. All right, so we'll start as usual with round 1. I have to say I didn't recognize a lot of the opponents on the way through this one, which is usually a good sign. But there you can see my deck. It is a bomb, and the full credit for this deck idea goes to Pinky. Pinky plays the exact same deck here, except he uses wind instead of the bomb. I played the first game with the wind, lost, and I thought, I don't like this, and I wanted the bomb because I lost to a Reaper deck. So I put the bomb, and it was the Storm Elemental that got me, not the Reaper itself. So I put the bomb in instead, and then went on to win 10 straight. So the credit for this deck goes to Pinky, except I made one change. If you don't know who Pinky is, well, he was way up here. There he is. He's the number 8 global player right now. Perhaps he's going to be one of the top ones locally as well. Number 2 locally. Yeah, and there's his rush deck, and I use the exact same deck except Bob instead of Wind. So let's get to the games. Enough of this prelude here. So the first game is against Joker, a player I did not know. And you'll see that these games go pretty fast. Again, having not played rush decks before, like literally never before, I suspect I made a lot of mistakes. I suspect I played far from perfect. But some of the ideas I understand. And one of the problems you can get into with rush decks, I can guarantee you, is playing your cards too quickly. And so sometimes it pays to wait and see what your opponent's going to do. So say I'm waiting right here to see if my opponent plays arrows, and then I'm putting down my warrior. I didn't want my warrior to also get hit with the arrows. Okay, so now I've decided I'm going to play the Hollow Knight in the middle lane here. And again, the basic idea is just to attack. And my plan the whole time here was to play that vampire up in the top lane. And so that's pretty good, and that's not a good result for his Spectre there. I meant to play the Genie behind the Spectre, but apparently there wasn't enough room, so that was kind of a mistake. But the Genie takes the hit for the Demon. I got another Genie up there. The Genie's a pretty key card of this deck, and at this point the game is over. Even if he can somehow stop everything, I've got a Catapult, and I've got a Bomb, and I've got the Meteor all in my hand, all which can do damage very quickly from a distance. With direct damage from the bomb and the meteor. So the game was over once he was about at 1,000 health anyway. I knew I was going to win. It just was a matter of how. So this next game is against a very strange mixed deck I had not seen before, and a player I did not know. So again, we got a good draw because we got the warrior. The warrior, getting one of the, or at least one warrior, is always a good start for this deck. Oh yeah, I remember this. My opponent burned arrows, which is really a disaster because then I came with the boneyard right after, and he sort of slowed the attack down with the Reaper there, but but is in a lot of trouble. Okay, so here I think I'd play the Vampire, yeah, because the Vampire is going to go down there and take care of this stuff. Now this is probably not the ideal way of playing. So now my opponent's um, I think is actually going to get my Hollow Knight. But in the meantime, you notice my skeletons are he's so concentrated on this bottom lane, and here comes the catapult. And he was able to kill the stuff in front, but I threw another card in front just to protect, and you know, he's got nothing. There's nothing he can do there. I've got genies, I've got the meteor. I mean, there's just nothing my opponent can do once they get that low. And that's what's kind of neat about the rush decks. Once you get your opponent down to a low health, if you have control over even one lane, you can finish them off and win the game. So you can, another way of thinking about it is your opponent doesn't have 7,000 or whatever castle health. So here's the third game. Your opponent doesn't have 7717 castle health. They've got more like, I don't know, 6,500 castle health or something like that. And that's all the damage you need to do is 6,500, because you can finish them off with Meteor Bomb, dropping a genie in sneakily behind them, or even the catapult. So there's lots of ways to do direct damage quickly at the end to finish them off. So here we got another great draw. We got the warrior, we got the boneyard. My opponent's, at this point, I'm pretty confident I'm going to win this game because my opponent just had to use Inferno in the middle lane, and we're just doing so much damage here that there's just not a lot my opponent can do. I played the vampire there. Again, I don't know if that's the best idea, but my plan here was to just build a wall for the for the pirate. And we've still got the same thing going. And yeah, my opponent played that demon in front of the vampire, and the vampire took out the pirate, which was nice, but it also, or the demon took out the pirate, which was nice, but it let my vampire gain health back, and then the vampire did lots of damage to the castle. So 1, 2, 3, and so game 4 was against one of these sort of skeleton decks. Honestly, these games went so quickly, I don't really remember them. Okay, so clearly here my opponent has a terrible draw. They have none of their mana ritual cards, and it may literally be their worst possible draw. They have almost all of their high mana cards, which when you're facing a rush deck is big trouble. So my opponent's got to do something to defend here. This is why I didn't play the Jester earlier, because I was waiting to see if my opponent would play any skeletons, because lots of people do. And my opponent did, so this is perfect because the Jester can just hammer on these skeletons. Now, I probably played that Pirate too quickly. I probably should have saved her for the middle lane. Here I decide, forget about those skeletons, because what I'm thinking is I have a bomb that'll eventually come up, and so I can always take out those skeletons when I draw the bomb. And instead, I would rather keep concentrating on attacking my opponent's castle and not worry so much about that. So here we go again with the Vampire. Again, not sure if it's the best play. I'm not even sure if it actually works. So here again, my opponent's getting, you know, dangerously close, but it's seeming to stop my attack. But you know, I've got the meteor in my hand. I mean, it really is. There's really nothing my opponent's going to be able to do. I also played the bomb in there. I don't know if you noticed, and killed those skeletons that were attacking my castle. So that was game 4. Game 5 was against another rush deck, and me, having never played a rush deck, had zero experience playing a rush deck against another rush deck. And often when you're playing the same kind of deck, there's some meta strategies there, and I had no idea what they were. But you know, we got the warrior, which is again a good starting card. Now here I was thinking I wanted to play the pirate against that Jester. We're pretty lucky with that boneyard that it protected my warrior there. My opponent did take it out by using the bomb, but then I get my pirate in front of that Jester, and my opponent misplayed a bomb there. That really cost them, because that cost them 2 skeletons from the skeleton swarm. And here I play a bomb because I knew the bomb would take out the pirate. And what I'm really trying to do here is get control of the lanes, because with a rush deck, I know my opponent wants to have control of at least one lane, and I'm trying to keep my opponent all the way back against the wall. Now my opponent does get the vampire out and is going to take my Hollow Knight, but I don't care because my opponent is virtually dead after I drop the catapult down. So control of at least one lane is really important for sure with a rush deck. So that was game 5. Game 6 against Arcano. Again, another play I don't know. So this time I don't have the warrior, but I do have a jester. So I do have at least one 3-mana card. That here. Oh, I guess I drew the warrior, so I went ahead and played it first. And then here, to me, it was a pretty obvious move to back it up with the pirate, because now I'm going to take out his warrior and keep my pirate. My opponent draws a pirate, but now I'm going to take that out as well. I think I get lucky here. Yes, the skeletons from the boneyard jumped right in front, and this is nice because those skeletons are going to get in front of. And here I played probably, I don't know if it may have been a mistake to play the jester. Yeah, I mean here, I really haven't done that much damage to my opponent's castle, and they're getting quite the setup with this pirate, or sorry, what was that? Vampire and angel. That's a pretty deadly combination. But luckily for me, yeah. So luckily for me, I had the meteor and was able to take them out there. Okay, so here I was pretty sure that a bomb would also take it, and it did. So the genie plus the bomb took out that shaman. And again, the goal here is just to keep slugging away at their castle. I've got the catapult ready to go when needed, which is I think about now is when I play it, just as sort of trying to finish my opponent off, and there it is. And so that one was a pretty straightforward win, I think. So that was game 6. Game 7 was against another opponent I didn't know. And now this opponent's deck, I think, could be pretty tough for a rush deck because it has 2 spike statues in it, and it has some range damage cards like the shaman that can get behind a spike statue. And what else does it have? It has angel, which can continually heal that spike statue. So here we go. I've got pretty much my ideal draw, warrior, boneyard. My opponent uses a shock there, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but perhaps he just didn't know what else to do. So here I'm backing up my jester with a pirate, which I think is pretty nice. Again, my opponent's playing cards kind of out of desperation here. I mean, I don't think there's any real sense in playing it the way my opponent is. And here, I think again we see this. Well, I thought I was going to need the bomb, but I didn't need it, and it didn't really matter. We had just been doing way too much damage too quickly. And again, that's what can happen with a rush deck. You can just pound your opponent before they even know what hit them. So that was game 7. Here's game 8 against Moo, who I feel like is somebody I might have known before, but I don't know. I mean, they're not in a clan, which is a little weird. Usually a player who's in a clan, that's an indicator that they're not that strong. But they do have Spike Statue. They do have a few other cards that can make life difficult for the rush deck. Okay, so they went with the Hollow Knight. I probably could have waited and played a little slower. That may have been too quickly played on my part. This is a good move by your opponent. My opponent here to put the spike statue in front of my Hollow Knight, but I am going to go for his Hollow Knight up here. My opponent uses the Black Witch. Now, if I had the genie ready, if I had not... Now, see, this is where I got a little scared, because, okay, so far I have done 0 damage to my opponent's castle, and they have fended off my early attack, and this is usually pretty dangerous. Now, they've healed the vampire and the Hollow Knight. Fortunately, this isn't the... Yeah, I mean, so I've got a couple of genies that are now doing some damage, but this was really really a pretty dicey situation for me here. The boneyards worked out nicely, and the genies are doing some work, so that's the good news. And then I get the catapult down, and that should be enough to finish my opponent off, but if it isn't, I've got the meteor, and there was the meteor drop to finish the game. So I don't think I necessarily played that one particularly well, yet still came out with a victory anyway. So that was 8. Game 9, I think, was a pretty decent game. And again, given that it's my first time ever playing with a rush deck, as I said, I think I made plenty of mistakes. But this opponent was from a clan that I recognize. Revolucion is a pretty strong clan, so I knew my opponent here wasn't going to be easy. Okay, so there I waited a little bit, and my opponent has played the spike statue there. I've got a warrior in the other lane. The other thing I was thinking about in a lot of these games is that many of my opponents might know me, and they might assume I'm playing a Reaper deck because I often play Reaper decks. So here I played the Genie in the middle lane, and I was hoping a Boneyard would get out in front of my Pirate, and eventually they did just in time, which was nice, allowing me to play a Jester, which will hopefully get in front of the Pirate, but in the meantime my opponent has used Inferno. Again, this is a situation where I'm like, man, I've used a lot of cards and I have not done much damage, and my opponent is just fending everything off. So, and again, here I have very little attack going. There I get the Genie out, and my opponent kills that. So here I'm like, wow, geez, I'm kind of in a lot of trouble. But I do get the catapult out because I have one lane. As I mentioned earlier, if you have one lane, you can do this. Okay, so now the Genie's going to come in to do a little extra damage. I don't mind if I lose the Hollow Knight. My catapult is pummeling my opponent from far. I put the Jester out in front of the catapult to protect it, and then eventually drop the Meteor when my opponent's health was low enough to get the win. So that was a pretty good game. We didn't win that one easily, but we did get the win. And here was game 10 for the championship. I think I played pretty badly. In fact, my opponent probably should have won. You'll see that there's probably a mistake that my opponent made at the end that basically saved the game for me. I think I made probably a number of mistakes here. I probably shouldn't have played the Jester against this Jester. I probably should have just played the Jester in the middle lane and said, forget it. Why am I trying to fight his cards? It was kind of silly. My opponent's playing Standard Bearer, and this combination with the Druid and the Jester can be quite powerful. And now the freeze, and I'm sitting here going, wow, I am in a lot of trouble. Now, thankfully, my Pirate has stayed alive through all this, and is just barely doing some damage to that Druid, but the Druid gets moved again. I haven't done a ton of damage to my opponent, but I've got another Genie coming, and my opponent is running out of cards now. My opponent plays the... this is a very unique deck. My opponent plays the... what the heck is that thing called? Unchained Demon there. And I thought, oh man, I'm in trouble. And especially when this happened right here. I thought I was going to get the win, but then when that wind pushed my catapult back, I knew I was in big trouble. And so... now I need something pretty amazing to sort of save me here, because my opponent's doing a lot of damage to me in that middle lane. So I drop the Pirate up there just to defend, and luckily right there, my opponent used the Standard Bearer, which allowed me to drop the Meteor and kill everything all at once, and then a second Meteor to go get the win. So that was a crazy game. I probably should have lost. If my opponent hadn't used the Standard Bearer, I may well have lost. But we got the win anyway. Hey, and while we're here, let's just open up this free chest. And we got the 10 wins. First time ever playing a Rush deck. And we've got ourselves a grand tournament victory. So anyway, so there you go. There's some of the ideas behind a Rush deck. Again, I won't claim to be a Rush deck expert, but I think that there were some of the ideas that you saw displayed there. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.